We were less than an hour last time. All right, I will, let's see, 6th, right?
Yep.
Okay. Like to call to order the October 6th regular meeting of the Chagrin Falls Board of Education. Ms. Brudno, if you'd please call a roll.
Mr. Rankin.
Yes.
Mrs. Garvey.
Here.
Mrs. Bendel. Here. Mrs. Bros.
Here.
Mrs. O'Toole.
Here.
Okay, if you'd all please rise and join me in saying the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, if I could have a motion for the approval of the September 1st regular and special meeting.
Can you stop
and-
there and separate out this 22nd since I wasn't here?
Sure.
Thank you.
If I could have a motion for September 1st, special and regular alone.
So moved.
In a second,
Second.
and any discussion? All right, Ms. Brudno, if you'd please take the roll.
Mr. Rankin.
Yes.
Mrs. Garvey.
Yes.
Mrs. Bendel.
Yes.
Mrs. Bros.
Yes.
Mrs. O'Toole.
Yes.
Okay, if I could have a motion for the approval of the September 22nd minutes for the regular meeting.
I will make that motion that we approve the September 22nd minutes.
Thank you, Mary Kay. If I could have a second.
A second.
Thank you, Sharon. And any discussion there? All right, Ms. Brudno, if you'd please take the roll.
Mr. Rankin.
Yes.
Mrs. Garvey.
Abstain.
Mrs. Bendel. Yes. Mrs. Bros.
Yes.
Mrs. O'Toole.
Yes.
All right, moving on to board reports. Mrs. O'Toole, if you would take the audit committee and board policy committee.
No report for audit committee. For policy, I expect we will have a meeting late October. I did attend the Peppel and Wagner legal seminar last Thursday, and Lori Bendel actually came with me. It was very enlightening. 10 attorneys on 10 topics, and I did pick up packets for the rest of you, but I forgot them tonight. So I will have some pleasure reading for you all. And there may be some policy implications that we will then look at when we have policy committee. And that concludes my report.
Okay,
Thank you both for giving your day to that.
yeah, thank you. Was it a day-long meeting?
It was 8:30 to 3:30.
Whoa.
It was
actually very interesting.
Fantastic, thank you. Next, Mrs. Garvey, if we could have Business Advisory Committee, Capital Planning, and Board Finance and Budget.
I actually have updates on all three tonight. The Business Advisory Committee that we work through the ESC, they held a meeting earlier today. And they have also submitted the 2022 Business Advisory Committee plan to the Ohio Department of Education, and that was accepted. Capital Planning Committee met on September 28th to review the 2021 fiscal year projects that are now completed, and also to look at the prioritization of the 21-22 projects, some of which are on the agenda tonight for HVAC at the high school. The Board Finance and Budget Committee has a meeting scheduled for Thursday, October 28th at 6 o'clock in the PAC lobby to review the 5-year forecast update. That concludes my report.
Okay, thank you. And for records retention, we have a report. I'm sorry, it's not going to be that exciting, but but we
It's
did.
exciting that the answer is yes. Barbara.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. It's
You've
not
had
very
the
often.
once-a-year meeting, huh? Yes.
Yeah, pretty much, pretty much. It was a short meeting and we basically approved, correct me if I get this wrong. So we approved items for which, is not in the regular record retention policy. So we had to approve disposing of some records, which actually were, basically personnel records related to students' COVID status that we needed to dispose of properly.
Yes. So just to give a little bit more background, when we do have a records retention schedule that's approved by the state. So anything that matches a description on that schedule, we can dispose of after we've retained it for the set period of time. There's a form for that. We send it down to the Ohio Historical Society. They decide if they want to see anything. And then we can get rid of those items once that time has passed. If something is not on that list, which these are items that were not on that list, there's a separate form that you have to fill out. We can't just get rid of anything ever. So in order to do that legally, we had to host a meeting and then approve the disposal of these records and then fill out a one-time disposal form. It's called an RC1 for something that is not on the list and there's no set time frame for holding on to it. So that is a form that gets sent out to the Historical Society and then we wait a few weeks and then we can dispose of those records. We did all of that.
It was exciting. Yeah, so that concludes my report. We're gonna move on now to the superintendent's report, and I will turn over the floor to Dr. Penzarski.
Thank you. I just have a couple of things for tonight, and I'll have a lot in upcoming meetings. So consider this your preview of what's to come. So next month, we'll actually go over the report card. So if you're unaware, the report card for the state of Ohio has changed. And so we'll go over all those components with you as well as reflect on Chagrin's performance and how it relates. So that's what you'll see coming up on the 20th. I believe the report card is released on the 14th. So it'll be good timing to be able to have that information shared. And then at our following board meeting, which will be November 3rd, what we'll do is we'll present the district goals. It's my understanding that you're used to getting those earlier in the year. And I would just say that I want to make sure that the district leadership team, which is our staff leaders, have time to review what the cabinet and the principals have already put together. And I know that you've seen drafts and we've even talked about them in work sessions. But before I present it as the finalized plan, I really want staff to see it. And that meeting is happening next week. So you'll see that presentation and the admin team will be here. So if you have questions or things about what the different buildings are doing, it would be a great time for that to happen. With regard to COVID, not much change. And actually that's a positive for us. So we're just keeping pretty stable with what I reported out before, and we continue to monitor. So when we do see that significant decrease or we get more information, those would be the triggers that would cause us to reevaluate our masking policy again. But what we're doing is currently working. And I just want to say a huge thank you because everyone has done such a tremendous job. I know it's not easy. I know no one wants to do it, but we haven't seen an increase and we're just kind of sustaining. And I think that's an okay place to be right now. So that's all I have.
Moving on, public participation. I'll just condense this down, just to reiterate, if anybody is interested in addressing the board during our meeting, you can contact Dr. Penzarski and Ms. Bruno or myself to get put on the agenda ahead of time. Or, obviously you can sign up at the meeting itself. So it sounds like we have one person signed up ahead of time.
Emily Gotsagen.
Thanks. Is this on? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. So my name's Emily Gott-Sagan. I live at 22 Ridgecrest Drive, and I've been a tax-paying resident since 2008. My children, Catherine and Sam, graduated from Chagrin Falls Schools and are thriving. But as students new to the district, both had negative experiences, which I would characterize as threatening and intimidating and certainly not welcoming and inclusive. In 5th grade on the school bus, a classmate pointed at Sam and yelled, "He's gay." It was an accusation meant to shame, embarrass, and send a message that Sam or gayness is bad or something to call out as wrong. It was hurtful to Sam as a new student, but chances are great that at least one child on the bus took it just as personally, since they may already or would one day possibly identify themselves as LGBT or Q. And it stands to reason that by the time the bus got to school, at least 2 kids were in worse shape than when they left home and not very ready to learn. In Catherine's first year, she and others were terrorized by a group of senior girls who called them names like whore, slut, and bitch, just out of earshot of teachers and administrators. So why? Was this the activity of a harmless clique? Catherine would have said no. It felt more like a threatening gang, which makes sense because gangs use intimidation for the purpose of claiming power and authority. So the question is, how should our schools safeguard against demeaning experiences like these and instead promote positive relationships between classmates and between students and teachers? I think part of the answer is in providing quality instruction through a lens of diversity to promote empathy and understanding of others as human beings, especially classmates. I would like the diversity, equity, and inclusiveness values to be used in all areas of study. DEI is proven to improve cognitive and critical thinking skills, promote creative problem solving, prepare students for citizenship, and support them when they join a very diverse workforce. I trust our teachers to select appropriate reading lists to support the Ohio Department of Education grade level standards. To cultivate harmony and respect, teachers may want or need additional coaching to assure inclusiveness in their classrooms. So I ask you to please press on to make Chagrin Schools a safe and nurturing place for all kinds of students. Let's not sacrifice our students' positive social development only to prioritize their superior intellectual accomplishments or athletic skills. We all pay enough taxes to assure our schools can afford the best teachers and best practices in education like DEI and to support students who excel academically and socially. Thank you for all you do for our students and teachers.
Thank you. And I don't think we didn't have anybody else sign up just at the meeting, right? Sorry, I timed out here. Okay. Moving on then to the consent agenda items. If I could have a motion for consent agenda item 7A through 7I.
So moved.
In a second.
I'll second.
Thank you. Any discussion on the items? Okay. Ms. Brudno, if you'd please take the roll.
Mr. Rankin,
Yes.
Mrs. Garvey,
Yes.
Mrs. Bendel,
Yes.
Mrs. Bros,
Yes.
Mrs. O'Toole.
Yes.
All right. Next on to superintendent's recommendations. If I could have a motion for item 8A through 8B.
So moved.
Thank you. Mary Kay, if I could have a second.
Second.
Thanks, Sharon. And Dr. Pensarski, if you'd be willing to walk us through these.
I think these are pretty familiar to the board. So the first item that's on there is just when we hired Michael, it was not at the correct step. Sometimes that's just a paperwork issue. And so that was caught. And so we need to correct that and ensure that he's on the right step. And then letter B, you are probably more familiar with than I am because it was my first capital planning committee meeting, but a very clear plan, a very clear process for how things are determined to be fixed or allocations are planned well in advance and for a wide span of time. So hopefully those three things that are part of that resolution are familiar
and you're comfortable with.
Yeah, and actually, I believe everybody was present at that meeting, so we've gone through it in detail.
I just wanted to add a comment that I believe Chris Swifter confirmed that now every building in the district has air conditioning, with the exception of 1 or 2 rooms at Gurney that aren't used very often. So I think that
Here,
and the improvement,
the 2 rooms are here.
oh, sorry, at the high school, that's correct.
Mhm.
And these are upgrades that are necessary, you know, occasionally the equipment needs to be replaced or repaired, and so we're well ahead of that. But I think the air quality has been a high priority for the district. And, I think we're well on our way with this last project being completed at the high school to have a very comfortable, clean air environment for our students.
Mhm. Yep.
We have
agreed.
set aside a portion of our federal CARES money as well, or ESSER money, to cover a portion of this project because the HVAC upgrade is an allowable use of those funds to clean the air and make it a safer environment. So
Mhm.
part of that will be paid using those funds.
Okay, great. Yeah, and if anybody's interested in more of the detail, I would encourage you to go to one of these meetings. There is a lot of detail behind the capital budget. It's been definitely a significant area of focus for the last couple of years for the board. So we've basically taken our capital spending up from 400,000 to approximately 2 million per year, which is partially the situation of why we ended up with the intermediate school needing rebuild, partially. It was an old structure as well. So, Ms. Brudno, if you would take the roll, please.
Mr. Rankin,
Yes.
Mrs. Garvey,
Yes.
Mrs. Bendel,
Yes.
Mrs. Bros,
Yes.
Mrs. O'Toole.
Yes.
Okay, the moment we've all been waiting for.
Oh, yes.
If I could have a motion for 9A through 9C, the treasurer's recommendations,
So moved.
and second,
Second.
thank you.
Okay, thank you. Item A is the annual request for tax advance monies. In order to participate in the tax advance program, we have to request it from the county. Otherwise, they wouldn't give us our tax money until the settlement came. And then they would earn all that interest on those funds. So we want to participate in that program. I'm requesting permission to fill out the proper paperwork and send that to the county and participate in that program. Item B is donations. We have $2,055.50 for tennis wind screens. That was from the Chagrin Falls Booster Club. And we have percussion components at $485 from L. Ashby. And then I will move to item C. All on my own, I'm plugging it in. Following my instructions.
Ashley,
Yes.
the windscreens, I assume, are for the new tennis courts.
I believe so.
Okay. That's interesting. I don't think we ever used to have that before, but maybe they're finding they need to
Yeah, I don't have any,
detail on it.
I don't have any detail as to the why. I just know that they
Right. Well, we certainly
wanted to
appreciate,
accept
I'm
the
sure,
donation.
Yes,
yes, I'm sure it's an upgrade.
right.
Yes,
We certainly appreciate the support for our tennis team.
teams, both.
Right.
Spring and fall, yeah.
Boys and girls.
Okay, so I realize that it is October 6th and we are just now talking about August reports. Was not able to get them ready for the last meeting. We've just been too swamped in the treasurer's office. So we have August now. Next meeting, hopefully we will have September ready for you, and then we'll get back on a normal schedule. First report is the general fund summary report. This is the one that corresponds with our 5-year forecast. Here in this column are all of the lines that you would find on the forecast if you wanted to trace this over to the forecast. Biggest thing to note here in August, it is very typical. July, August, September is when we get our taxes for the first half. Right here, you'll see 10.6 million in general property and then 576,000 in public utility personal property. So just over $11 million in taxes this month. which accounts for the giant increase in our cash balance. Next report is the general fund revenue report. Again, just point out that of course, our largest source of revenue is always our taxes. Due to the timing, that does fluctuate each year. Sometimes we get advances sooner, sometimes we get them a little bit later. When I get to the bar graph, you'll kind of see how that fluctuates. The other thing to point out here, state foundation money. Right now, we are still receiving our foundation money monthly based on last year's amounts. And I know it was in the news last week that the state is not going to get their numbers into their system, into the payment system for our updated numbers. So that was supposed to have happened for the first October payment. It did not happen. They are now shooting for later in the year, but that doesn't change our revenue that we're going to get for the year. We will still get the same amount. It's just, it's happening later. So right now they're still funding us every month. They're just giving us what we would have received last year. Once they get that into the system, then they'll catch up and we'll still end up at the same amount that we should be receiving by the end of the year, which is about $100,000 more than we received last year in state foundation. So that's great. Also this month we got our casino money. Right, that's right here. That says $53,000. That only comes twice a year. We get it in August, and then I think the other payment is like end of January, beginning of February, when we'll get that next payment. That doesn't show up on this report all the time. Picture of what the revenue looks like. You can see August revenue looks like it's way up, but that's because July was down from previous years, and that's just due to the timing, like I said, on those advances that come from the county.
Do you think the advances, I mean, years ago, I would have said July was the month. Now I got to say July and August. Do you think that people are paying later or just taking longer to process?
I think it's probably a combination of things.
Mhm.
You know, everybody blames everything on COVID right now.
Right.
So things were later.
Mhm.
I don't know that it's that people were paying later this year. I think, you know, we were already over a year into it. So
Right.
I'm not real sure.
Yeah, something's delayed though, because it's
Yeah.
like July and August are 14 million. Last year, same time, we were
Yeah.
like 16 million, so definitely delayed. So hopefully, well, it's gonna come through. So September and October will be larger.
Yeah, we won't, it'll be February, March before we get any more.
Yeah, it'll
The
even
big
out in the
wave,
next month's reports. When you see September, it'll start to even out. Moving on to expenditures. These are all of the detail. Again, I know this is only the second month. I did break these down a little bit differently this year than they were broken down last year. Salaries, I just kind of broke it down more in line with how the system is breaking those accounts down. So if there's anything that you don't like or you don't get or you don't understand, just ask and we can always tweak these reports. But most important up here, I know these are the two numbers that people care most about. This is our instructional salaries. You can see that, of course, makes up the majority of our salaries. And then I know people like to see how much administration costs.
I like the specificity.
And then continuing with the expenditures. Nothing too significant here. You know, I do like to point out, we know, and I did not include the pie graph this month that shows how small that supply number is when you're talking about all of our revenue. But even within the supplies, it's nice to see, you know, that the majority of the supplies is still going into instruction, going into the classroom. Of course, we have supplies that we have to purchase, things like fuel and custodial items just to run the buildings, but people like to see how much is actually going into the classroom. Same with equipment. People want to know how much of the equipment is actually instructional. Most of what we've purchased so far this year is instructional. And then looking at the expenditures, nothing too significant here. The decrease there from July to August, I honestly don't remember what that was last year, and I should have looked at that before we came tonight, but this is looking more like where it should be. If you notice, last year, because this one was down in August, it did move up in September and then evened out. So whatever that anomaly was occurred last year, this is about where we would expect to be this year. Cash balance in comparison to prior years, again, timing on those advances. We did receive $11 million this year in August, so that is looking like it's higher than what you would expect it to be, but it should stay, it won't stay this high, but it will stay higher than the previous years. This orange line as we go through the year should be higher than previous years because of the passing of the levy.
Right.
And then eventually it'll start to tick down just in the levy cycle. Self-insurance fund. You can see that our reserve balance is steadily increasing, which is what we want to see. We had our self-insurance committee or our health insurance committee meeting this week. We received our renewal from the insurance company. It's very favorable. We are taking a 2% increase in our funding rates, which is what we, in a fully insured model, we would have called premiums. Now we call them funding rates because we're not paying a premium to the company. We're paying it into our own fund, into this fund here. So it just demonstrates, that we did make the right move in going to this model. And as we build that reserve up even further, we'll cushion ourselves or insure ourselves. And then hopefully we'll be able to absorb any bad years. So we're paying our own claims now on a self-insured model. And when you have a bad year, if you were fully insured, you would typically then take a really large increase. Standard increases in our industry right now for a fully insured model, people are looking at like 8 to 10% is around the average. We're only taking a 2, so that's great for both the district and the taxpayers because we pay a portion of the plan, but also for our employees because they pay a portion of that plan as well. So I was really pleased with the performance of the previous year, and hopefully we will continue to see that line go up.
Remind me again, I think the actuaries calculated the projected balance. I mean, I know we're well in range.
Right, so there's a law that to be self-insured, you have to maintain a certain balance.
Mhm.
That's a minimum reserve balance. I believe it was, I don't remember what it was, like 500 something. That's really low. That is the absolute minimum that you're allowed to have.
Right.
Beyond that, when we get our renewal, the actuaries at the actual insurance company, they see all of our claims. They know our claims history. They see the claims that are kind of in the pipeline and things that are coming due. So they come up with an expected claims amount. And then that's how we determine the funding rate. So we need to maintain the absolute minimum, which is the law. And then beyond that, it's really smart to keep it certainly enough to cover your claims. So that if you do have that bad year, you want to have enough that you can cover those claims. So we take expected claims, and that's they're pretty good guess on what we're actually going to have in claims, and then we tack on a little cushion on top of that as well, and say, okay, if I don't even remember what the expected claims number is, but let's say it's 100,000. It's not, it's in the millions, but let's say it's 100,000. We then say, okay, well, we want to make sure we're going to have 125,000 to cover those claims and have enough in our reserve to meet the reserve requirements. So that's how we come up with those funding amounts.
Mhm.
So
Yeah. Gotcha. Looks good.
did I just thoroughly confuse everybody even more?
No, I mean,
Okay.
the model, the strategy is paying off for sure.
So far, yeah, it's definitely working. It's, everything that we hoped would happen is happening, and we're experiencing those savings already. So if you remember when we were talking levy cycle, or when we were talking levy, this was one of the items that we took as one of our savings and cost reductions. We certainly, and I haven't sat down to calculate, the difference. But our estimate was conservative, and we're saving more than we thought we would. So that's fantastic.
Yeah, just one last question. You said that we recently had an insurance meeting,
Mhm.
and I know in those meetings, the teachers and the teachers union are in there, obviously.
Yes.
So I'm just curious, I haven't asked them personally, like, what is their feedback?
I think it was all positive. It seemed, everyone seemed pleased when you've experienced the double-digit increases in the past and you've seen those 10% increases. 2% is nice. And it's, it helps not only our bottom line, like I said, but it helps, us as individuals who are paying into it. Our percentage is not gonna go up 10% this year. It's only going up 2. So I think everybody seemed pleased you were
Yeah.
there, Mrs. O'Toole.
Sharon and I were both there, and we had representatives from both the teachers union and the support staff union.
Mhm.
And I would say they're excited about this.
Yeah, that's good.
That, because I mean, they have skin in the game. They pay their
Yeah.
share of the premiums, and 2% is way better than 8, 10, 12 that we had been seeing in the past.
Right.
A
Yeah.
couple things came through to me, the shared ownership that Mary Kay spoke of. It was definitely a very collaborative meeting with everybody working together.
Mhm.
And I think that has impacts other areas of district spending as well. And then the seamlessness of the transition being managed by Ashley and her team. Everybody feels really good about the quality of benefits that they're still receiving.
Mhm.
And it just, I mean, from board perspective, especially, it feels like we talked about doing this and we're doing it and saving a lot of money, which is really tremendous.
And to an individual member, it's still medical mutual.
Mhm.
They still have their medical mutual ID card. It was seamless to a user. It's just that
Mhm.
the claims are coming out of our pile of funds rather than
Right.
premiums, rather than medical mutual
Yeah.
keeping the excess, we
Right.
keep the excess now.
Right. So when we were looking at doing it, we have a spreadsheet that compares our actual usage to the premiums that we paid to Medical Mutual over the last several years. And the difference was about $1 million over the last couple of years. So that's $1 million a year that
per
Medical
year.
Mutual
Yeah.
made off
Per
of.
And
Off
even
of
in
our
this past
plan.
year, that's roughly
Yeah.
what we're seeing in savings.
Yeah. So, that's money that now is going to sit in our reserve balance to pay future claims and then contribute to lower increases as we go
And
forward.
even the 2% increase, right? It's an increase in cost, but it's going into the fund that is shared fund for the medical expenses. So it's like paying forward for yourself. If we get to a
Right.
point where we see that our medical costs are lower than we projected, then we can take a, what's the holiday called?
We could take a premium holiday or
Premium holiday.
funding holiday.
And then, so I think that it was well received that how
Mhm.
much ownership everyone has of it.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And I think our usage continues to just get better and better because our employees get smarter and smarter. They become better consumers as they now see that reduced usage and actually searching for better prices. And, we have some tools that are available to us to search for better prices on certain care. Keeping that money sitting in that balance then comes back to us in our own pockets because our increases are not high.
Mhm.
So I think as we continue to gain that ownership and get buy-in from everybody and continue to educate on people's options, that will just get better and better.
Mhm.
There was, to be fully transparent, one question about the way some information is being received and disseminated, but I felt like Gallagher was incredibly responsive and they were going to take that offline and make sure that that question got addressed. And
That was from one individual user.
yeah,
Yeah.
Got it. Okay, great. Good experience.
All right, moving to the financial summary of all funds. Negative unencumbered balance here in food service. We do expect that this year. That's just going to continue to grow. The requirement that we provide free meals is extended for this year. So we expect that that will be covered by the transfer at the end of the year. And we've built that in to our forecast. So we do know that that's happening. And then the others are all federal funds that we spend first and then receive later. And then the bank reconciliation, nothing exciting here. Typical bank adjustments here. These are all just items that just hit the bank after 9/1. This is where all of our deposits are. Again, we are still very, very heavy in Star Ohio. It's the easiest account to deal with. All of our taxes go directly into there. All of our state money goes directly into there. And then we hold it until we need it and move it into those checking accounts to use it. Returns on the investment management account are not really any better than Star Ohio still. Hopefully someday that will get better, and then we can start moving some more money. Since we do have some cash, we can start moving some money into an investment management account and getting a better return. But it's still sitting at right around that 4 million. And that is it.
Let me ask you a question. I know that, for a while we talked, you were going through the systems conversion.
Mhm.
And then, that's certainly been foreshadowed by all the public information requests. So we stopped talking about the systems conversion, but that's not a small task. I'm just interested, is it
I
complete
haven't stopped
now?
talking about it.
I'm sure.
If you hear me trying to figure out how to find a report, you'll hear me talking. Yeah, it's, we're on it, we're operating on it. It's getting better, certainly, but I mean, anybody who's gone through something like that knows that it is what it is. It's frustrating. It has way more potential, certainly, than the old system. It's just learning it and figuring out how to find, the things that we need. For example, Mrs. Bendel asked me for some information a couple days ago, and I haven't gotten it to her only because I don't know how to pull it yet. I have to figure out how to get it and sort it, and I can do it. It's just I'm going to have to sit down and spend probably an hour figuring something out. Whereas on the old system, it would have taken me 30 seconds because I already knew how to do it.
Yeah. Are you running parallel? Have you cut over to the new system or?
No, we are not parallel. We are on the new system. We've been on the new system since April, May. We ran 1 month parallel.
Mhm.
And that was it.
Mhm.
Actually, not even a full month.
Well,
It was quick. We were their last grouping though. LGCA, our A site, had done all of their other districts in their consortium, except they did us, Kenson, and Chardon together. We were the last ones. So everyone else had already gone. So they knew what the bugs were. They knew what to look for. And they knew how to get it over quickly and reconcile. And that's why that parallel didn't take quite as long as it would have, maybe had we been in the first wave of districts.
yeah. Well, a new system's like a new language, right? It's better to immerse yourself in
It
it.
is. It is. So, but it's going well. The system's fine. I someday will tell you that I like it. So we'll get there.
Is it off of the green screen?
Yes, it's no longer DOS
Yeah.
based. It is
Come on.
now. It's nice. It's when it's
It's
all
way better.
yeah, and it's all accessible via the web. So if I'm at a conference or something, I don't have to call Jill and talk her through how to do something. I can just hop on my laptop and do it. And that will be really nice once we start going to conferences again. That'll be fantastic. And I'll be able to just get things done right wherever I am.
Mhm.
That'll be nice.
Great. All right. Any other discussion? Prudent, if you please take the roll.
Mr. Rankin,
Yes.
Mrs. Garvey,
Yes.
Mrs. Bendel,
Yes.
Mrs. Bros,
Yes.
Mrs. O'Toole.
Yes.
All right, other business, any other business? None. The next meeting will be Wednesday, August 20th at 8 o'clock. Is it in the-
October
October.
20th.
Oh, October? What did I say?
August.
Ah, You got me on August.
That would make for a very calm year.
Yeah, it's a long reprieve. Okay, October 20th at 6 PM. And so it'll be in the high school library again. Okay, great. Okay, nothing else? If I could have a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
All right, and a second.
Second.
Great. 50 minutes. All right, Ms. Brudno, if you'd please call the roll.
Mr. Rankin,
Yes.
Mrs. Garvey,
Yes.
Mrs. Bendel,
Yes.
Mrs. Bros,
Yes.
Mrs. O'Toole.
Yes.
All right.